Hey guys, welcome to another movie analysis. So in this video I'll be talking about all three Spider-Man films that's directed by Sam Raimi and starring Tobey Maguire. So let's start off with the first one, which came out 2002. This is Spider-Man. So back in 1980s, Marvel and film producers wanted a live-action Spider-Man movie, so Raja Carmen, the producer and developed the film in Iron Pictures. Stan Lee got hired to write the script. They would have got Doc Ock as the villain, so the rights ended up in the Cannon Group. Menahem Goldman and Yoram Globus didn't know about Spider-Man's background and mistaken the character as similar to a werewolf-like character. Leslie Stevens, who created The Outer Limits, got hired to write the script. Peter Parker would have an ID badge photographer who becomes a subject to a mad scientist's experiment, which transforms him into human tarantula. Tobe Hooper got hired to direct, and Stan Lee did not like what they were going for, and he wanted to be closer to the comics, so the crew left. Joseph Zito got hired as a director instead. Barney Cohen got hired to rewrite some of the scenes to add humour. Bob Hoskins was considered for the role as Doc Ock. They would have got him as Peter Parker's mentor, later turned enemy. The actors were considered for the role as Peter Parker / Spider-Man are Tom Cruise and Scott Lever. Lauren Bacall and Katharine Hepburn were considered for the role as Aunt May. Stan Lee would have played J. Jonah Jameson, and the film was going to be called Spider-Man the Movie. They even made a teaser trailer, which is pretty cool to look at.
Within this unsuspecting city, history's greatest experiment creates tomorrow's greatest superhero. Spider-Man, the movie. A live-action spectacular directed by Joe Zito, based on the characters created by Stan Lee.
But because of Superman 4: The Quest for Peace and Masters of the Universe, that was also made by Cannon Reception, Joseph Zito didn't want to direct it. Albert Puri was going to direct it, and the film was going to be lower budget. The film got cancelled after Cannon's acquisition by Pathé, and Menahem Golan left the studio. After losing the rights, it went to Carolco Pictures, and James Cameron got hired to direct it. He met Stan Lee before as they were talking about doing the X-Men film. Stan Lee thought James is a great choice to direct a Spider-Man movie. Leonardo DiCaprio, Charlie Sheen and Edward Furlong were considered for the role. The origin story would have been there. They would have got Electro and Sandman as the villain. The film would have got heavy swear words and a sex scene between Spider-Man and Mary Jane on the Brooklyn Bridge. So after Carolco got sued for attempting to film without Menahem Golan's involvement, and as a result the movie didn't happen, James Cameron chose to direct Titanic instead. So the rights got sold to Sony Pictures, Columbia Pictures parent company, for $7 million. They surrendered the rights to make unofficial James Bond in order to keep the rights of Spider-Man film. As for the directors, Roland Emmerich, Tony Scott, Chris Columbus, Barry Sonnenfeld, Michael Bay, Ang Lee, David Fincher, Jan de Bont and M. Night Shyamalan were the choices. David Fincher wanted to base the film off the night where Gwen Stacy dies instead of origin story, but studio disagreed. Chris Columbus chose to direct Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, so Amy Pascal picked Sam Raimi, who's been a fan of Spider-Man comic books since childhood, who's known to direct the Evil Dead films. David Koepp got hired to write a script. Green Goblin and Doc Ock were going to be the main villains, but Sam Raimi figured Norman Osborn and Peter as a surrogate father and son would have been more interesting, so Doc Ock got dropped out and used in the second film. Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, is a high school student who gets bitten by a radioactive spider, getting himself new powers such as wall crawling, web swinging and shooting, spider sense, spider strength and stunts. Because of the bad things happened to his life, he uses his powers and became your friendly neighborhood superhero, Spider-Man. The actors who are considered for the role are Leonardo DiCaprio, Freddie Prinze Jr., Chris O'Donnell, Jude Law, Chris Klein, Wes Bentley and Heath Ledger. Stan Lee was interested in casting Joe Cusack. Scott Speedman, Jay Roden and James Franco got involved with screen tests, and John Manganiello auditioned for the role, so Sam Raimi casted Tobey Maguire after watching him in The Cider House Rules, and Tobey signed to do 2 sequels. I love Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker and Spider-Man. He's fantastic, very inspirational, and he is my favourite Spider-Man because of childhood. one of the actors who inspired me into acting, and very true to comics, being awkward and nerd as Peter Parker, and the sense of humour and caring as Spider-Man. Sam Raimi took the idea from James Cameron for organic webbing instead of web shooters to stretch the audience of suspense disbelieving too far to have Peter creating a mechanical web shooters, which I love the idea, because Peter has no job, no money, he hasn't finished school. Him creating web shooters would be impossible. A lot of people complain that he very rarely makes jokes, but I think it's spaced out pretty well, as you know when to stop, because overdoing the jokes wouldn't make you funny at all, it would make you annoying. Toby never read the comic books, but he took the role because he loved the script. Norman Osborn, aka Green Goblin, is the boss in Oscorp, who has a son called Harry Osborn. Sees Peter as his son, he develops a performance-enhancing chemical and tests it on himself. His strength is unstable, and his personality gets altered, so he became a villain, Green Goblin, who flies on a glider and throwing pumpkin bombs and razor bats. Nicolas Cage, Jason Isaacs, John Malkovich and Jim Carrey were considered for the role, so Willem Dafoe fought his way through to get the part, not for fame, as he's already famous, he just wanted to do it, which is awesome, and he insisted wearing a suit which took half an hour to put on, and Willem believed stuntman would not convey the character's necessary body language. He's perfect as the father figure and a scary villain. That is definitely Norman Osborn and Green Goblin. A lot of people complain saying the suit looks more like Power Rangers. I mean, I love the suit. I definitely buy that's the live action version of the Green Goblin. And there's also unused Goblin mask which looked pretty cool. Mary Jane Watson is Peter's neighbour, friend from school and a love interest since he was 6. Mary Jane has abusive dad. She gets a job as an actress but ended up as a waitress. She hides from her boyfriend Harry as she got feelings for Peter. Kate Bosworth, Elizabeth Banks, Kate Hudson, Eliza Dushku, Mina Savari, Jamie King and Alicia Witt were considered for the role, but Kirsten Dunst took it after she learned Maguire was casted as Spider-Man, feeling the film would have had more independent feel. James Franco played Harry Osborn, Peter's best friend and Norman's son. He's so good as well. Cliff Robertson played Uncle Ben, Peter's uncle. He's great as well, especially the car scene when he says, "With great power comes great responsibility."
Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
Rosemary Harris is great as loving and caring Aunt May, Peter's aunt and Ben's wife. J.K. Simmons really owned the role as J. Jonah Jameson, the publisher of the Daily Bugle, who sees Spider-Man as a criminal. I can never imagine anyone else replacing him. Stan Lee wanted to play J. Jonah Jameson, but he was too old and said J.K. Simmons did better than he would have done. I think all casts are fantastic with their roles. Looking at the comics, we imagine what they would have been in the films and what they sound like. Elizabeth Banks, Bill Nunn and Ted Raimi played Betty Brant, Joe Robbie Robertson and Hoffman, who works at the Daily Bugle. Ron Perkins played Dr. Mendel Strom, head scientist. Jerry Baker and Jack Betts played Maximilian Fargus and Henry Balkin, board members. Stanley Anderson played General Slocum, who never supported Norman's program because of predecessors told him many of the scams he did to keep his business going. Joe Manganiello played Eugene Flash Thompson, Peter's bully. Michael Papajohn played Dennis Carradine, the carjacker who we thought killed Uncle Ben. Bruce Campbell played ring announcer who would have been revealed as Mysterio if Spider-Man 4 was made. Macho Man Randy Savage played Bonesaw McGraw, the wrestler. John Paxton played Bernard, the butler in Osborn's mansion. The origin story is definitely faithful to the comics, mostly from the 1962 Amazing Fantasy 15, and a little bit of Ultimate Spider-Man comic, as it works well. I love the wall crawling scene. And the drawing scene. Uncle Ben's death is really heartbreaking. Chasing after carjacker is suspense.
Did you give him a chance? Did you?
Green Goblin made a great entrance.
Hello, my dear.
It's Spider-Man!
The The battle scenes look so real, especially final battle scene. It looks brutal as hell. It holds up pretty well. Catching the tray scene isn't done by CGI, it was filmed on camera and it took 156 takes, which is impressive. The dinner is really nice, it actually makes me hungry every time. There's nice chemistry between Peter and Mary Jane. The scene really made me jump was...
Last night I was...
Whoa.
Wake up, little spider.
I found it amusing the way the random guy shouted Cage. And gotta love the way Green Goblin says sleep.
Sleep.
The final swing around New York is a great way to end the film.
I'm Spider-Man.
I wish there's an extended version of Jace Bartok giving Spider-Man a hug.
Dresses like a spider, he looks like a bug. But we should all just give him one big hug. Look out, ooh, here comes Spider-Man.
I do love the songs they play on the end credits, like Nickelback's Hero.
And a hero can save us. I'm not gonna stand here and wait.
What We're All About by Sum 40. And the original Spider-Man song.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can, spins a web any size.
I really love this film. It came out when I was 3 and got the VHS when I was 4. I love the artwork on the posters, like this DVD here. Sam Raimi's direction is well done. The fact he directed the Evil Dead trilogy and used to not using CGI, nearly all scenes in this movie are filmed on camera. Music by Danny Elfman is fantastic and it's well written. You get comic book vibes, perfect casting as I've mentioned. They are well fleshed out and it's so relatable. It's some of the greatest superhero films ever made. And I've been a fan of Spider-Man since I was 3. I remember seeing my dad playing the Spider-Man game when I was at that age and I was fascinated by it. I really love the 1990s animated series. It's such a fun to watch, and the 1960s cartoon are fun. I even enjoyed 1970s live action series, Ultimate Spider-Man and Spectacular Spider-Man animated series. I haven't seen much of Japanese Spider-Man series and the 1980s either. Same with new animated series and Marvel Spider-Man, and I haven't seen Unlimited. I also love playing the games and reading comics. So, the next Spider-Man film to talk about is Spider-Man 2.
Dresses like a spider, he looks like a